Hello, everybody, and I hope you're having a blessed day. And I'm doing this video because $7 Prepper had requested that I do a video on storing flour long term. And I would like to start by saying the first thing that I do when it comes to anything that I store is I pray over it. I ask God to keep it safe, let it stretch longer, give me wisdom on how I can get my food to go even further. And that's the first thing I do. Now, I'm only being honest. You, $7 Prepper, you asked me what I do. That's the first thing I do when it comes to flour or any other food. The second thing I do is I put it in the freezer and I store it in the freezer. And I leave it there for a week. And then I consider it okay, safe, bug-free. Okay, now, once it's been in the freezer for about a week, I will take it out. Now, I don't think leaving it in the freezer less than 3 days is a good idea. I think you should at least 3 days. Now, you've got to remember, a 25-pound bag of flour is pretty big. And for you to get that entire bag really cold enough to kill off any insects, eggs that might be in it is going to take some time. And so that's why I do it for a whole week. Because I figure a week in my freezer is enough time to have really, all through that flour, that 25-pound bag, it should have gotten cold enough to kill off any or insects, eggs that might be in it. And once I do that, I take it out of the freezer, and I have a little shelf, like table in my pantry, and I just lay the bag right there, and I mark the date on it. Because I really don't do much else to my flour. I really don't. This flour right here is 2 years old. Well, 2 years and a couple of months. But I think it has not a smell to it, but an off taste to it. Different. It's not a bad taste, but it's different. But it was also a different type or brand of flour that I had normally bought. I buy from a restaurant supply place, and the brand I normally get they didn't have, and this one said baker's flour. And I said, well, it's baker's flour. That's mostly what I use my flour for. So I got it. Now, it could just be the brand. It could just be me, because no one in my family believes that this flour has any sort of taste to it, off, or anything. They say it tastes normal. And I will admit that, like, when I make tortillas or biscuits or something from it, only the first bite, but after that, I could eat tortillas again, and I don't taste nothing off about it. Never gotten sick from it, so I think it may be the particular brand. Now, like I said, I store it. This was over 2 years old. I've had no problem with it rising. No problem. It's not tough. It works beautifully. Now, there are some, and there's a lot of information out there. And that's why I say pray about it. Let God guide you and show you, because He knows. I personally, from my prayers, I only think I need 3.5 years supply, and that is it. I won't go into, why I told you I don't like to discuss religion and politics. Those are two things I don't like to discuss. But I think that I only need 3.5 years. Okay? And as long as I keep rotating this and replacing it all the time, I will end up, I believe, with 3.5 years. And like I said, I pray about my flour. And I believe that I'm going to be able to get it to last that way with doing absolutely nothing else, because I've already used flour that's over 2 years old and have not had a problem. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, there are 2 ways that they talk about storing flour. And they also disagree on how long it will last in doing it. Now, some people use that vacuum sealer, and what they will do is they'll take a paper bag and they'll put like 6 cups because they figure, maybe some for biscuits that week and a little bit maybe for pancakes or, enough for a couple of loaves of bread. And so they will take paper bags, the lunch type paper bags, fill it with 6 cups, then they will fold it over and put it inside the vacuum sealer bag and then vacuum seal it. Now I have a vacuum sealer, but the bags are not cheap, and then you stop and think about where you're going to store, because there's a lot of cups of flour in a 25-pound bag. And when do you decide to use it? When the 3 years is up, or when it's close to its expiration date? Or are you using it all along and then replacing it with more vacuum seal bags? I just think expense-wise, it's a lot of money. And so are Mylar bags. Now they say that you can put flour into the Mylar bags, doing the same thing, measure out how much you want, and then just, putting the flour in there. I think that's a lot to go through. I've seen people do the same thing with those instant mashed potatoes. Well, you could take your instant mashed potatoes and put them in a Ziploc bag and stick them in your freezer. But if you want to use a vacuum sealer, you could. Freezing preserves things for years. And so if you take your instant mashed potatoes out of a bag or box and put it in a Ziploc bag, it doesn't take up much space in your freezer. And you could store a lot of boxes that way. And it's a lot cheaper if you've already got a freezer and you're running your freezer. But like I said, we're all individual, and we all should pray about it and ask God, what is the best way to do it? Because see, He understands what you can afford and what you can't. And I'm a firm believer, if you do the very best you can, He will help you to stretch it to the distance you need. Now, like I said, I only believe I need it for 3.5 years. I do not have the space or the money to store 200 pounds of flour in Mylar bags or vacuum seal bags. I don't have that kind of money. But I do have a lot of faith in God that I can do the best I can by putting it in the freezer, putting it in my pantry, and He will help it, that it will be fine for the 3.5 years that I believe is what I'm going to need, and that it won't go bad on me, and that I will also be able to stretch it so that it will last that long. Now, some of you may not believe that, but I do. And like I said, I only think we need enough, or I do, for 3.5 years. And it has to do with the Bible and what I read and what I see in there that tells me I only need enough to get me through for 3.5 years. And that's how I store it. So $7 Prepper, I hope this is helpful, and I hope it's helpful to all of you. There's a lot of different information out there. You may not want to follow mine, but like I said, my flour has been fine for over 2 years and 2.5 years, and I believe it will do fine for the 3.5. If not, God will give me something else to eat, and I'll be okay in the end anyhow. So God bless, and have a blessed day.